Hi, and welcome back. We are going to revisit our topic of the sad plight of the chronic rescuer, also known in our case as the codependent woman. Last time we studied what does a healthy family look like in general, and I made it clear I wasn't given an exhaustive discussion of that topic, but the high points of what we should have gotten when we were growing up so that when we went out into the world as women, we would make good choices. Those good choices would have been based on our understanding of who I am, what my value is, what I bring to the table, and what I expect someone else to bring to the table as well. When we are raised in dysfunctional systems, we go out into the world distorted and not prepared to make good choices. So we are going to jump into a study of the dysfunction that happens to us when we're growing up and what turns us into rescuers. In her book called Adult Children of Alcoholics, published in 1983, Janet Waititz revealed the common traits of adult children that came from the homes of alcoholic parents. These traits mimic most of what you will find in a codependent person because alcoholic parents, being the way they are, foster codependence in their children. They become rescuers. There can be elements in homes that further create problems for a child, which we'll be discussing. Where am I going with all this? There's hope for you and me as rescuers. It's found in a place you may not be tempted to look because you don't know about it. I'm going to tell you about it. So hang in with this discussion. Let's go into the traits of children who are raised in dysfunctional home systems. Before we look at the traits of those who were raised in dysfunctional homes, a little caveat. Every home has some kind of dysfunction, but what we're speaking about here are homes where the dysfunction far outweighs the good functioning. So if I'm a product of a dysfunctional home, number one, I guess what normal behavior is. Well, with poor role models, I can only make a stab at knowing what constitutes health in a home or in a relationship. Number two, I find it hard to follow a project through from beginning to end. For me, this was true because my inner world, where I retreated for safety, created distraction. Also, I wasn't sure if the project could ever be successful in some cases, especially where there was a lot of my emotion invested in it. I didn't feel worthy of success. Number three, I lie when it would be just as easy to tell the truth. I am not characterized by myself or others as being a liar, but I do remember hiding the truth, and of course it would always find me out. For instance, I was a contractor who needed to talk to my main client about a needed change in our contract. I felt unempowered to represent myself to this client, so I just changed the way I was charging for services without any explanation. You know how these things play out. I was found out and there was a serious discussion. Fortunately, nothing came of it because I discovered in the long run that the law was on my side in the changes that I had made. But things would have gone a lot smoother if I had empowered myself to be transparent with my client. Well, in my home, which I will be discussing, truth had got me severely penalized by strict parents, and they opted for chastisement in situations where a civil conversation would have worked better. So I became very afraid in situations where I needed to empower myself to speak truth. Number four, I judge myself without mercy. Oh my goodness. I was made to feel responsible for my parents' failures, so I find it very hard now even to forgive myself when I make a mistake or to give myself room for growth in my learning process. Number five, I have difficulty having fun. Because my parents were prone to cracking the whip over my head, I found it hard to relax enough to enjoy things. That is not the case now that I have done considerable healing. Number six, I take myself very seriously. I have told my friends that if our local mayor resigned, I would probably call him and ask if it was due to something I said. Number seven, I have difficulty with intimate relationships. I will qualify this one from my experience. I had difficulty choosing good partners with whom to have an intimate relationship. More on that later. Number eight, I overreact to circumstances over which I have no control. There is a terrible vice of the poor young person who has been adultified in their home. This means that the adults, the parents, confided their personal world and their problems with their child, with the understanding that the dependent child is a fixer and a confidant. This is a form of abuse. The child needs the parent to take the role of being a confidant and a mentor. It was not meant to be the other way around. So what is the vice? I become hyper responsible for situations all through my life and take on the job of fixing things or people I was not really called to fix. In the long run, it creates frustration in all who are involved. And guess who the adultified child attracts? Persons who need fixing. Number 9, I constantly seek approval and affirmation. Since I have not gotten words of encouragement largely from my family of origin, I do not understand my significance and I do not internally embrace my gifts and uniqueness. So I hang around others asking questions about my appearance and performances. Number 10, I feel inside that I am vastly different from other people. If my internal environment was shored up with self-confidence and a sense of I am loved, I would not bother to even compare myself with others. But people from dysfunctional homes sense that they are not put together well or that they relate well in healthy ways. People who find good marriages and seem at home in their own skin challenge us and fill us with wonder. In just doing life, a person used to dysfunction feels lost somehow. Furthermore, they get rejected a lot because of their neediness and other damaging ways of relating to others. They will be heard saying to others they feel like aliens or square pegs surrounded by round holes. Number 11, the rescuers are super responsible or they become super irresponsible. If I am a product of major dysfunction and feel like nothing I do is going to work out no matter how hard I try, I may just give up on any effort to better myself. In that case, I may fall into a great deal of risky behaviors or embrace a life of rebellion against authority. Another possibility is that I become super responsible for everybody and everything, carrying burdens I was not designed by God to carry. Both of these paradigms provide distractions from my own pain and need for love, which I feel I will never get because love has not happened so far, so why should it begin now? Number 12, I am extremely loyal, even in the face of evidence that my loyalty is not warranted. Being loyal is an excellent trait, and God is honored by it. It says in Proverbs 28:20 that a faithful or loyal man shall abound with blessings. People who are, of course, loyal to God are. But we must start with God's loyalty and not our own. God is faithful to all things pure, holy, and righteous. My loyalties can become tainted by my emotional entanglements, and I can end up investing my faithful nature into something that is different from God's value system. For instance, look at this illustration. Would you loyally stay with an investment company that has a poor track record with the money of their clients? Of course not. You would get out and opt for something that is worthy of your loyalty. So I need to back off from a cause or a relationship that is proving to be damaging and misleading to me, therefore hurting me. Look at God's value system. Number 13, I am impulsive. This one used to describe me before I learned some lessons. We can especially become too fast in moving into relationships that have not been proven with time. If it feels right, we get excited, telling ourselves we finally found something that we've always wanted. So we move on that feeling really quickly into a relationship and give ourselves away emotionally, financially, physically, and spiritually to a wolf. You know what I found out? It's the playboys, the players, who have made a study of what women want to hear and how to make them feel a certain way. A good guy may not excel at that skill or even seem boring. But before you move too quickly into a get-rich scheme or a romance, put your brakes on. Get advice and let time prove out what you are dealing with. Number 14, I tend to lock myself into a course of action without giving serious consideration to other behaviors that are surfacing or possible consequences. This piece ties into the impulsivity we just unpacked. A rewording of this statement could be, I have a tendency to ignore or hide the red flags, even good advice, because I am heading on a course I won't get off of. I am locked in. I got into a marriage myself where the red flags had surfaced, but somehow I felt I had made a commitment, and out of my misdirected loyalty, I moved ahead with that destructive marriage. I had an opportunity to weigh in on some looming consequences, but I was so connected to the decisions I had hastily made. I would not change my mind. These discussion points lead to the commentary found in point number 15. My impulsivity can lead to confusion, self-loathing, and a loss of control over my environment. So in addition, I spend a huge amount of energy cleaning up my messes. Anyone can make a mess and then clean it up. But here's my point, and in fact my overriding statement in this particular video. We who are rescuers are hardwired to be that. We are found not learning from our mistakes, and even though going through that painful journey and having to clean it up in a painful recovery process, we tend to keep making these mistakes. We hear from well-intended people, just stop doing this. Well, yeah, we need to stop, but how do we change our deeply embedded personal culture of rescuing? That is a great segue into the next lesson.
She hangs up the phone and she heaves a sigh. He didn't come home again. Nobody knows where he's hiding.